Yo, what up? It's Roger from the Mascarilla podcast. Today we have a very special episode as we're celebrating the 4-year anniversary of Lil Peep's debut mixtape, Crybaby. And on the podcast today, we'll have some of the collaborators from the mixtape, and along with and starting with Liza, Lil Peep's mom. What's up, Liza?
Hi, Roger. Good to see you.
Yes, and who do we have here in your arms?
This is Taz. He is Gus and Oscar's dog. Oscar and I actually voted against him, but Gus won. So that's we were cat people, and we ended up with Taz, but we love him.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good thing now that he voted in favor.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So how's everything going back on Long Island?
Well, there's a lot of activity, and I think a lot of positive change is going to come with it. And the weather's beautiful, and so people have been able to be outside. A wonderful march went right past the house. I got to come outside and cheer for everybody, and it was really wonderful.
Great.
All ages and all kinds of people. It was great, yeah.
Incredible. So today, Wednesday, June 10th, if you go on your Spotify and Apple Music, you will be able to stream Crybaby for the first time on those platforms.
Yep.
What was that process like, trying to get that project on those platforms? Why does it take so long? It's what the fans wanted for so many years. Can you let us in on that?
About that? Well, the neat thing about this project is that, actually it all started with clearing samples for the music to be in the film. So that's how I learned how to do all that, or what the process was, because I don't really do it. But so there are some tracks from this, from Crybaby, but there's Hellboy and Live Forever and all of that. And I learned about how samples are cleared, getting sync licenses for the film. But the way we started, the process was that we needed to find out what the samples were, because the lawyer and the publishing expert that I work with, who contacts the publisher for the sampled artist, they needed to know. And so I had to write to the producers. I had to go into Gus's email and startle them, which I felt badly about, but I would put the subject heading, "Hi, this is Liza, Gus's mom, and sorry to bother you, or sorry to start, I don't want to startle you." And all the producers that I wrote to were lovely. Some of them said it was, whoa, it made them jump, because that's been his email for forever. And I was always the backup recovery person on it anyway. So it started with that, contact the producer. These are, that we're looking to clear for the sync license for this song, this track. But then Consuelo, the woman who I work with, who does all that, she designed a questionnaire. She said, because she discovered that some of the producers had done, worked with Gus across a variety of, projects, and there were a lot of songs. So she did a questionnaire. How many tracks did you do? What were the samples in each of them, so that we wouldn't have to go back to each producer for every track that we wanted to in the future, because my goal is to be able to release everything Gus released, in the way he released it. So that was how it all started. And so there were some that had already been, kind of started, and then it's just mostly Consuelo and writing to the publisher, and then they contact. There are some people who are still music artists, but some people are, like, one person is, I think, a high school teacher, and we had to sign, there are 5 people who are the people who are in charge of the song, they're the sampled artists. There's 5 of them. So we have to get all 5 of their signatures. on, to okay it. And sometimes they, there's a little bit of money here or a lot more money there, or, and just to get it cleared. And then you go from there, I think, pretty much, everybody signs and you're done.
Well, I'm sure the fans are incredibly grateful that you went through that painstaking process to get this project on streaming services. Let's go back in time, back to when Peep was actually recording the project. Because at the time, there weren't labels or lawyers or any samples, to be clear. They were just making music in this house in Pasadena. What are your earliest memories of this project and hearing from him that he was recording this?
Well, I mean, Gus was always making music. So when he was home, he was making music. He was kind of, he'd been in Denver, and we had a plan. I had a ticket that I bought for him to come home, and then in like the end of March or middle March, and then there was a big snowstorm and they couldn't get to the airport in time. So we missed the flight. I think he said, "Don't worry, Mama. Ghostmain has figured out a way to fly me to LA." And so he was like, "Okay, great, wonderful, way to go," And so they got back to LA, and then in early April, and then it was, "Mom, I'm staying back at, Brennan's house," where he'd been living with Brennan in September 2014 to go to Glendale Community College. So gone back there. Great. I knew I had that address in Amazon, and so it was, "Mom, I need underpants and money." And so it was just mostly getting him what he needed, Mom's stuff, and sending him the can opener and stuff like that. And then he asked if he could come home for a little bit to visit in May. And that was when, he told me how there were a lot of people, and he'd been basically sleeping shoulder to shoulder on the kitchen floor with, 10 other people, and that he was loving it, but it was crowded. And I think, I don't know why he really wanted to come home. Maybe it was just kind of crowded and he needed to recharge, at home. But, and then he made some more music when he was home. Oscar and I were both there. I think his grandmother was also maybe staying with us. I think at the time, for a while when he came home. Oscar had just graduated college. And so the house was kind of busy. And so he took his laptop and borrowed a mic from, I think, Quinn Donovan, and went over to Tyler O'Connor's house in Island Park. And he was recording tons of music. And Tyler's dad was never home. And so it was always like fun. And the big sister would, fine. And so Quinn was telling me Gus kind of kicked Tyler out of, not in a mean way, but just ended up sort of taking over the room. So he'd record stuff there and bring it back and mix it at home. But yeah, it was, but he was just always busy, just a busy little bee making stuff. And he made Teen Romance, those 3 tracks there.
When he would record these songs and then come home with them, would you hear them coming out of his room, or would he play them for you? Or what was the process like of you hearing his music?
He never really played it for me on purpose. He played his music a lot, so it was always blasting out of his room, and his friends were always listening to it. And a lot of the time I would say, "There's too much swearing, it's too much, swear words," and or I'd say, "Oh, I like that one, Gussie. That's a nice one. I like that one." I Love to Live Forever. Those, in that era. But so and then in the nighttime when I would hear him. But I don't have any specific memories of these tracks, but he must have been mixing it at home. But maybe I don't know if he had some, because of the headphones, and he could do it because he recorded it there. So he was just mixing it. So probably just listening at night,
Right.
Just when he always worked in the middle.
So he eventually went back to Los Angeles. He went back to the house in Pasadena where he finished the project.
Yeah, well, he did the first 6 tracks in Pasadena, 4 tracks in Long Beach / Island Park. And then the last track on June 10, he flew back June 8. June 9, he flew back. And somebody else had bought him a ticket. And I didn't know who the name of the person was, but that person had bought him a ticket to fly back to California. And then he dropped it the next day, June 10. But the last track that he made, I want to say Skyscrapers. I got to double check, but yeah, that one he did on June 10th. That's the creation date on the laptop.
Do you remember seeing the white tea video for the first time?
Oh, well, yeah, that was you. So that was, I said, I would Google Lil Peep, and check on him and see, because I had the Bandcamp. When he had Bandcamp, I would look and I'd buy, I bought his albums I call them albums, on Bandcamp.
Right.
And so it was $7 suggested, and I paid $10 to give him a little extra. And so I knew that. But then, then I didn't do SoundCloud. So I would sort of Google and look for like videos and stuff on YouTube. And so I Googled one day at some point in May, before he'd come home, and there was this masked gorilla, and I was like, who's that? Purple. And and it was this nice review of Young Bruh and this white tea video, and I really liked that a lot. And I remember telling him, wow, that's good. Who's that boy? Oh, it's Young Bruh, Mama. He's, he was all excited about that. So, I remember that. And Oscar said, yeah, that's Roger. And I told Roger about it. And so it was a funny kind of full circle thing. I mean, he told me that he had told you about Gus.
Yeah, I don't know what I did in a past life to live this life where I start this hip hop website and the concert series, and then someone from my hometown moves 5 minutes away from where I moved to LA, and he becomes the biggest star of my scene. It's like, I don't know how that happened, but I lucked out, and I was at that house in Pasadena, and we released the White Tea music video on the Masquerella website, and I wrote a little post about it. So after the project was released, his life kind of changed forever. Mm-hmm. What was the first moment that you realized, oh, this is real? He's not just like my son sleeping on the floor with 11 other people. He might be a serious musician.
Actually, I had that feeling a year before when he was doing Star Shopping, and when he had me get the T-shirts, and I had to pay like $900 to get a bunch of T-shirts, 100 T-shirts, I guess, in Island Park. Quinn drove them out there. And then I was sent to Staples to get the little things to send them in. And then Ian had to walk him over to the post office 1 block, right, from where we were on Walnut Street. And, but I saw all these people ordering shirts, and I thought, this is, and I think I even was saying, you seem to be able to support yourself on this. And then he was selling T-shirts. Well, the first one with the skeleton, but then he started to sell these other Crybaby T-shirts, and he introduced me to the man that he was selling them with, and so that was getting him. I was like, wow, $900. That's all right, Gus. Good for you. That'll pay for a rent with other people, and then he got the loft, which he was very proud of telling me about, the Skid Row loft. Very proud of that. So I just felt like, he was doing great. I was proud of him. And then some people bought him. He was all kind of like, Mama, these people are, so-and-so. And he gave me some names, and, Travis Mills, he said, is, he's, little T-Mills. And I'm like, oh. So, and then they flew him out to California. I was like, wow, who was the lady flying you out of California? So that was, and then I started to, it was like, whoa, slow down. What's going on here? So, but I was very excited for him. And I think he was excited when he was making Cry Baby.
Do you have a favorite memory of that time period of when he was making the songs?
In that 2016 April, May.
Right.
Well, he came home. When he came home, he came home May 22, I think, on a Sunday morning. I was still, school year still going on. So I got him on the red eye out of Bob Hope, which he and I knew well, that flight. And
right.
Yeah, and he came. He was home, and we had a picnic in the backyard for Oscar's graduation. Oscar didn't want to go and walk and do all that stuff, so we just. It was just really nice to have him home and just be with him. And he seemed, happy and busy. It was intense, but it was really nice to have him home.
He was really on the cusp of his life being changed forever. Listening back now, what's your favorite song
on that album?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I love White Tea, and I do love Cry Baby, but I will say that, and usually I don't have a favorite, but I really love Lil Jeep. I just love that song. I love the way it starts out. And I found the beat. It was one of 5 beats that Kian Patterson sent him. And,
wow.
It had numbers, December 12-78 something. And he must have, because I don't think he ever used any of the other 4. And it's just so beautifully buttery smooth, and the way it starts. And then it's just so gritty and, and Emma used to climb in the window. I'm sorry, I have to say it. So I think about that. I never knew he was seeing her until New Year's Eve. The New Year's Eve before, and a friend of mine said, I just saw a blonde walk out of Gus's room. No, girl, are you kidding? No, girl. Well, she'd been climbing in the window for like a year.
Oh, my God.
So, I know what some of that's about. It's just, I love that song. It's intense, but also so quiet and peaceful at the same time.
I'm sure fans are going to want to ask this. The project is now on streaming services. There going to be vinyls? Is there going to be merch? Is anything else coming?
Well, I'm hoping, certainly one day, I would love this to be on vinyl. I want a vinyl. So, and
a nice white vinyl.
A beautiful, with that beautiful logo.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, I think he would be. I think he'd be proud and glad that this was happening, and I think he would love it if there were vinyls of this.
Yeah, I mean, Lil Peep Part 1 is probably just my personal favorite project, but Cry Baby is so important to me, and it's so important to this whole underground SoundCloud scene, and it was so important to Gus and everyone else in that house that it just means so much, and for the fans to now have it on streaming services is incredibly important. So thank you so much for all the hard work that you put in over the past year and a half to get this done.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I really don't do much. It's a whole team of people who are the real workers. But yeah, I probably just stand with the keep going. So my pleasure, my great pleasure. More to come, I hope.